Hi, this is Jay P and Lars Lindstrom, and this is Trends from the Trenches here for the month of July.
Wow.
I feel
like we're just whizzing by these things, man. Every time you call me and say, hey, we got to do another Trends, it's like, are we just packing all these in at once?
And twice a month? Or?
Right, yeah, it just doesn't make any sense.
Nope, time's flying by. And we had Cinegear that happened since last time we talked. We had Cinegear that happened since last time we talked. And there was definitely Cinegear since the last time we talked.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of camera announcements and things we'll talk about. But we'll get ourselves started. We're going to try to bookmark these things now so that you can go through and jump through to the part that seems most interesting to you. So you don't have to listen to the whole thing if you're not interested, but you can go to the part that you like. And we are putting this up as a podcast, so make sure you look on iTunes for that. And we should have some...
Trends from the Trenches.
Trends from the Trenches.
Podcast.
There you go. Lars Lindstrom, Jay P. So I'm going to start us off with a topic today.
Okay.
This will catch you off guard completely.
Ooh, okay.
I don't know. I just saw a video day after after the 4th of July, and they had a guy had driven a drone right into fireworks.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
Of course.
Yeah, I could.
Of course.
And everyone's going, what is he thinking? You know, it's like B-17 in the Second World War going, and this stuff explode.
Awesome.
I thought it was awesome.
It was so cool. In fact, right after I saw that video, I went on to B&H and I started looking at how much it would cost to get a just for my GoPro, something, and that was so cool. Who cares if I can put my big cameras on it? I don't care. I just want something that goes up in the air and takes some pictures and comes back down, hopefully in one piece. And I'm so ready to buy. Just anything to get me in, I'm ready to buy.
I'm the same way. Although it is the thing, I mean, there's so much about it. It's constantly on the internet. It is, and that's the one thing the guy was complaining about on the blog that I read, saying it's all over the place. And these got idiots, you know, and what's the FCC going to do to control all this stuff? The FCC is eventually going to have to control these things for several reasons. One, they've got to control it so they don't mess with commercial airlines and pilots. And secondly, there is, you know, just a matter of people are going to get hurt. But he made a comment in this thing, and it just drives me crazy. Well, they've got to put in things in place, laws in place to protect dumb people, you know, from the masses from dumb people.
Okay.
Flying drones. And I'm going, you know what? As soon as you put enough rules in place to protect the masses from dumb people, then you can't have a drone.
Right. And also, if we learn anything from history, that's actually a really terrible idea.
It is a terrible idea. It's like, what, do you want to control the whole world so that nothing ever happens and some idiot doesn't fly his... I thought the footage was spectacular.
It is awesome footage.
I thought it was pretty gutsy because it could have gotten hit and gone down.
And he was over the water.
Oh, yeah. He wasn't on top of anybody.
Right. So if anybody loses on this, it's the guy that owns a drone and a GoPro.
That's right.
And, I mean, what's that? You lose a couple grand.
Yeah.
Tops.
At the most.
That's that happens every day.
Yeah, well, on our shoots every day.
Right. So no, I loved it, man.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you know, like I'm not a huge fan of GoPro footage, but as the camera technology advances, eventually we're gonna have awesome. Well, I don't know, because it's the glass, sensors or whatever. It's the glass that starts limiting.
Completely.
So unless there's a huge revolution in how we get glass and how small we can get it, and maybe there's something that hasn't been developed yet. I don't know.
Very possible.
I don't know.
Well, that's why, we've talked about on this before, that's why I think the Sony cameras, that mirrorless, smaller platform, makes them a lot easier to get on drones, and I think that's going to be a step that will help. You know, you don't have to have a huge drone to be able to carry the new Sony 7S.
A7S.
A7S, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and speaking of the A7S, it just came out July 1st is when people started getting their shipments.
hit the markets finally.
And I've been reading a couple reviews, and I think we've talked about it. It's not really marketed as a photo camera that does video. It's marketed as a video camera that can do stills.
Yes.
And which is cool, because I love my C100s, of course, as everybody knows, but they don't do stills. They flat out, you cannot take a still image on your C100, which is sometimes a bummer. But so we got the A7S, and people are saying that, yeah, like when they start cropping in or zooming in, which some people, I mean, some photographers have their feelings about that, but the resolution's not there.
Yeah. Well, they've never said it was there. They've always said this is a lower resolution so we can have larger sensors to pick up the light and a higher ISO. And so, you know, I think we're going to see it as the capabilities, ISO capabilities. I just wish it was built in 4K. It wasn't that you had to. If it was built in 4K, I'd have bought one.
And here's the thing: I've been thinking about this the Atmos. I can't Shogun. I can never remember the Shogun.
Yeah, Shogun.
You know, it does 4K for less than 2K. So it's like $1995, and it's got this beautiful 10-inch display. But the problem is, it's got a beautiful 10-inch display.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, you know, so you've got this really tiny mirrorless camera, and then this massive 10-inch 1080p display. And so, you know, I'm wondering, well, can't Atmos do something where it's just like, this is the 4K recorder with a tiny, I mean, it's just like super compact. So it just goes right on top, and maybe it just lays flat or something like that. So it's just, I don't want, you know.
Simple.
Simple, keep it simple and small.
Yeah, something that'll go hot shoe, you can put it on a cold shoe on top of your camera. It's now a recording device.
You got time code, and that's it.
Love it. I mean, that's where it should be going. If they want to match the DSLR market, that's where it needs to go. It really becomes, makes that now, that Sony camera is even more valuable. But it's not a still photographer's camera. It just isn't. If you want to put it up against, you know, the cameras that are getting 24 and whatever megapixel, it's just not the camera. So if you want stills, it's not the camera. It's kind of like they have a complement of cameras, A, B, and C.
Yeah.
You know? And so you kind of have to buy one of each, or at least a couple of them. But
it's almost like they knew what they were doing. It's like they planned this in a meeting somewhere with a bunch of businessmen.
That's true. A bunch of guys who want the bottom line to go.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you'll never get one camera that does everything. There's just no doubt about it. Although if you see that Sony A7S all tricked out with the XLR inputs and everything, it's pretty impressive.
It looks cool.
So, yeah.
It looks cool.
It does.
And the footage looks cool. It's true. I've been checking out all the videos on Vimeo and YouTube, and
looks good.
Yeah, it looks awesome. I mean, it's at 100,000 ISO was what they were saying. It's pretty much maxed out at. I mean, of course, it goes to 409, but it doesn't look good, and it doesn't look good.
So what was again? How many?
100,000 ISO.
Oh, it maxed out 100,000. What a shame.
I know, I know. Like, you've got 2 more stops that you potentially could use, but it looks bad. I mean, it is grainy, and it's very noticeable, which is confusing to me, because I cranked it up to 409 at NAB and saw it on a TV and thought, oh, that's totally usable. But seeing it on Vimeo on my computer at home up close, it's just too noisy. So, but yeah, 100,000 ISO, and they're beautiful images.
Can you get it to, I mean, easily you can go up to what? I mean, when are you going to start seeing it fall apart? It's not see it fall apart.
You're going to
start.
I started seeing a little bit of a difference at 6,400 ISO. So 6,400 was clean, and then after that, maybe like the 12,000 range, it was like, oh, okay, there's a little bit of more noise in the darks here, but I mean, a little noise in your blacks at 12,000 ISO.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's just such a dream to have, you know.
Yeah.
You have no light that you need to put up to make that work.
It retains its dynamic range. It was just awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, so anyway, I think that camera's going to have a splash in the market. You know, mirrorless is the way it's going. We've talked about that forever. It just is, because of the small compactability of them. And I think everyone wants that, smaller bodies and smaller inputs, everything. So you got to get the rest of the market to kind of key themselves up to that thought. So Canon's
doing something interesting. They just announced 2 price drops on 2 of their cameras.
I saw that.
So the C300, which was, I mean, it was 16,000. Then 6 months ago they dropped it to 14,000, and now this week they dropped it to 12,000. So they've really made a large gap between their 300 and their 500, which to me says make way for the 400.
Oh, interesting.
I think for sure we've got a $15,000, $16,000 4K professional C400 Canon camera coming out really soon. That's my prediction, and I'm sticking to it. And I'm hoping that by next time we reconvene, that I'll
have that announcement,
have that bragging right.
So you think they're compressing the higher end rather than the lower end? They're not going to squeeze the 4K into the lower end.
I wanted a C200 with 4K. I wanted it really bad, but I don't think they're going to do it. I mean, they still have 5,000 to 12,000. They still have room for a camera in there. Absolutely.
Oh yeah, 5,000, 12,000. You do an $8,000 camera.
$9,000 camera, easy.
Well, but look at the competition right now. You got Sony, who has, you do have to record to an external device, but if you start getting into a $2,000 body, then someone's going to come out with a $4,000 version that does 4K in camera.
Oh yeah, that's a strictly video camera and a video housing with XLR ins and ND filters. I mean, it's going to happen very soon.
Yeah.
And so, and there's a cool little camera in China right now called the Mini Kini. Have you heard about this?
No.
They're competing with Red, and it's like Mini Kini or Kinimini.
Kinimini.
Yeah, and it's like they're like these Red-esque bodies, these clunky little things, and then they have all these attachments that you can start building onto it. But they've got Super 35 sensors. They can do 96 frames at 6K. This new camera's coming out with, and it's $6,000. So, you know, and I've seen the footage, and it's got a good dynamic range of 13, 14 stops. And I mean, they're really pushing towards the Red market, and they're killing it. You know, people are getting really excited about it. I'm excited about it.
You know, I said this on my lesson I posted this week on Diffusion. I said quality, you know, 2K, 4K, 6K is like fins that they were nailing onto cars in the 50s, you know. It's just a way to sell cars, you know, and that's, because we get to the point, and I was talking about this in my, lesson I put up. Jolene does retouching for Sony, for Fox, for all the different, all the big studios, and she was just doing a bunch of stuff for, I shouldn't say who it was, but a very, very famous actress, and she said, you know what, I'm seeing a trend happening here, and that is that they're not shooting stuff sharp anymore. They're putting diffusion on the camera because she's going, it just hasn't made any sense to give, they hand a retoucher these tack sharp images, and then she's got to spend hours cleaning everything up and go through this whole process to make their skin look right. And so she says, you know, she's seen a trend, not just from a photographer, but from several photographers where they're starting to soften these images a little bit. So I think we're going to see a point where you'll see diffusion come back in. That was our lesson this month, was to understand diffusion. And we did some great filter tests for Tiffen, which are not a sponsor of ours, but they have a great filters you can put onto a DSLR, so they twist on anywhere from 55 to 82, I think.
I liked it. I liked the test. I liked the results. I mean, looking at the images, some of the heavier stuff wasn't necessarily my style, but you put on a half or a one of those, the soft, like the Black Pro Mist or...
Black Pro Mist, the pearl. I thought 1/2 pearl was just a little kiss, and it just took the edge off. It was really a pretty filter. So that was my favorite by far.
Oh yeah, I liked it a lot. I liked looking at the images. Yeah, it was nice.
They just sent me 3 of their ND.
The variable
ND? Yeah, I'm going to go out and play with those and just see how those are.
Fun. And we've talked about the limitations. I wish that they had clicks, like individual stops.
Yeah.
You know, like, or even third, like click, 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 that's a stop, click, click, click.
Yeah.
Because you bump it, you know, or you go to touch your focus and you accidentally hit this thing and you go, well, where was my exposure?
Yeah.
And you don't know.
It drifts.
And so that's, Tiffen, if you're listening, develop a variable ND that has clickable stops. And I think, my goodness, that'll blow everything out of the water.
Absolutely. At least make it tight enough. They're fairly loose, but they do a great job. I mean, there's no doubt about it. What I've used them with so far, they're excellent. But I think you're right. It'd be nice to have something with clicks, or at least a way to, you know, it's a little tighter so it doesn't drift. But
yeah.
So what's the other camera news this month?
The 7D just dropped its price.
Yeah, it's like they're giving them away.
It's $1,000. What was it before? Was it 16?
No.
13?
Was it 13?
Might have been 13.
I don't remember.
But they dropped the price, which in my mind, I'm going, the 7D still exists?
Exactly. I'm going, who would buy this camera?
I know. Because, like, I mean, we've been so spoiled with ISO.
I know.
That I mean, I can't even look at an image past 64, or not even 6400, 640 ISO on one of those 7Ds or the 5D Mark II. It's so
I'm
stupid.
embarrassed to say I gave mine to my daughter to take to Germany with her to shoot.
That's not embarrassing. That's so admirable.
Well, I love my daughter and I want her to have it, but it's like, you know, having the Mark IIIs and the Mark II even now. I'm going.
Where's your 7D? Do you still have it?
My 7D?
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about 70D?
7D.
7D, yeah. That's what I gave to Jamie.
Oh, what did you do with your Mark II?
I still have it.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's like gathering dust.
Exactly. There's no room for this in my camera bag.
Get away from me. You know, but I'm set. I've got several Mark IIIs. I use them. The workflow is comfortable for me. I'm going to hold out, like I said before, until you get a really good 4K camera. And then I want to switch to that because just this week it happened to me. I shot some dental stuff at a dental seminar, about as low end as you can get as far as stuff you shoot. It's just about as low end as you can get. But they called me up saying, hey, we need pictures of this doctor working with kids. Can you pull any frames from the video? And it was not a still shoot, video. So I pulled frames off from Premiere for him. But, you know, at 600K, you know, and they're going to try to put those in the newspaper or something. I'm going, I really wish, well, 1DC is my favorite camera. There's absolutely no doubt about it. I love the camera. I love the full frame sensor. I love the 4K. I just don't love the price. And when you got to have 3 or 4 of them, that's a huge investment, man.
I saw one on Craigslist.
How much?
It was the camera plus 2 L-series lenses for $10,000.
That's a really good deal.
A really good deal.
Yeah, so should have called me.
I should have.
Yeah. What were the L-series lenses? Well, never mind.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I think it was a 20.
Craigslist actually is not a bad way to go. Lars believes in it.
I do.
I'm not a huge Craigslist guy, but you know, I love to buy things new, and then I just don't hardly ever not use them. I keep using them forever. Lars trades his stuff up. He's smarter than I am.
Well, and it just, for me, it makes sense financially because I mean, in this industry, especially with lenses, you can hold on to lenses for decades and you're fine.
That's an investment.
And you know, things like good quality tripods or camera support or lights even, you know, but when it comes to a camera body, that is going to lose its value in a couple of years. You know, think about the 5D Mark II. I mean, I graduated from my undergrad in college, and that was like my dream, and I went and bought one. Like, I mean, this was 3.5, 4 years ago. You know, and I bought one and I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is the best thing. And I think I didn't give it away, but I sold it on Craigslist for just pennies on what I paid for it.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, to me it's just, you just got to do it fast.
We get spoiled though.
Yeah.
But there is that philosophy, business philosophy, that you find something that works and you stick with it until it doesn't work, and that can make you a lot of money. It really can. And buying equipment constantly is not necessarily good for the bottom line. It really isn't. But,
right.
You know, this is a total tangent here, but I went to hire a guy to work, cinematographer. You know, who's going to help me on some shoots that we have coming up. Lars is not available. So, and I'm going, what camera do you have? Nah, I don't have a camera. Huh. And I'm thinking to myself, for me, it's like the conversation's over.
Yeah.
Because it says a couple of things to me. I don't need you to bring your camera. I don't care if you have a camera. But I care that, do you not love this? And I mean, I couldn't live without a camera. It's so much a part of my life. And so in some ways, it just makes me feel like, well, they must not be that into this. You know,
I kind of have to agree with you.
I mean, you'd find out some way. You'd hawk and sell and work and do whatever to just get something so you could shoot.
Well, there's got to be that passion there. I mean, there are people that overdo it.
Oh,
there are people that don't own any of the stuff that are just on blogs talking about it all day long. Probably half of our viewers. But you know, there's.
Don't say that.
Yeah. I didn't say that. Please don't tear me apart in the comments. But you know, like, yeah, you've got just something. You've got to have something that you can say, hey, I'm just gonna go outside one day and just shoot a couple of pictures. I'll go on a hike and take pictures of my girlfriend or whatever, or boyfriend, and
whatever.
Yeah.
I think a Tor that we've worked with many times, Tor can't not be taking pictures. It's his iPhone. It's whatever. The guy just eats and drinks it. I mean, that's the passion you want. Not that you have to have a ton of equipment. We're not saying that. We're not saying you should have a ton of cameras and everything, but at least something so it has a sense. If this is your profession, it just kind of doesn't make sense.
Because it's such a passion profession.
It is. I mean, you've got to love it. If you don't love it, you should do something else. You really should. I mean, there's a lot easier ways to make a living, that's for sure.
Yeah. What do you got coming up?
I've got a couple of things, shoots things. I shoot for a bank this next week, a bunch of interviews. I do 2 days, and then I come back a month later and do another 2 or 3 days. Okay. And that's going to be, it's fun stuff. It's pretty basic stuff, but it'll be fun. But then I shoot for Pilot every year. So I have my big Pilot shoot, which is always wonderful because we're going to be at great locations. We're going to be at the California Incline for one afternoon into evening. We're going to be downtown, a couple of great sites downtown. It's just a lot of fun because, you know, we get into great places. You know, they have the budgets and we want the look. So
yeah,
so I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun.
That's fun. That's good.
So
I'm going to Georgia.
Are you? You just got back from? No, you're going to Georgia now.
Yeah.
Is this another llama film?
Another llama. Well, it's the same llama film.
Is it?
Yeah. So we're trying to span out our visits every like 2 or 3 months. Yeah. So over the course of a year, so we get all 4 seasons, and there's a big llama like show progression that we're following. So we're following. We've kind of pinpointed a couple of youngsters that are into llamas, and we're following their careers. And I mean,
The
it's
Great
just
American Llama.
the Great American Llama. It's so fun. I really do have a blast doing it, and it's with a bunch of old college buddies, and it's just fun. It's just fun times.
I had something happen this week. It's so funny. I went and pitched a documentary to a guy who has a foundation that works in cancer, and just an incredible foundation. We were very interested in working on it, so a producer friend of mine went, we pitched it to him, and then I just was super busy, and the producer friend of mine said, you know, you're kind of the lead on this, you know, what do you think? And I'm going, I'm thinking I'm really super busy. And so it's been like 2 months since we talked to this guy, and he calls up and he goes, so are you guys ever going to call me back about doing this? And I'm going, why, are you interested? Well, yeah, but he's like, in the conversation, I realized he wanted us to sell him. So when we gave him the price and told him what we wanted to do and then disappeared, he's waiting for us to call back, to the hard sell to start. And when it never came, he's like going, hey, you guys, I'd kind of like to do this.
So what's the deal? I mean, did he...
We're going to talk to him on Friday and again next week. It's a huge project. It's a major full-length documentary, and it'll be worth doing. But you know, I struggled with this thought. Do I want to pick 6 individuals, women with breast cancer? Do I want to see them to the end of that process, whether they beat it or whether they don't? Do I want to be there when they pass away? Do I want to be there when they make it through? You know, do I want, that's, you might think that's something that doesn't matter, but yeah, that's a huge emotional drain, an experience like that.
There is a documentary on Showtime right now, just basically exactly that, but it's people with known terminal illnesses.
Yeah.
And it's hard to watch, but it is fascinating.
Is it?
It's very fascinating. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
It's just like the outcome is unknown, and it is literally life or death.
You couldn't be more.
And it's so topical. I mean, that's an ongoing huge thing that everybody is affected by.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great.
Well, this
concept.
guy lost his wife to breast cancer, and he literally writes out checks to people to help him get through the things they're facing, the things that aren't covered by Medicare and all those other kinds of things. He just kind of steps up and helps them. Incredible man, you know, and something that's a touch. I mean, and he couldn't be any more hardcore as a guy.
Yeah.
Couldn't be any more hardcore, you know, but this thing has happened in his life has really caused him to have to look at his life. So anyway, I think documentaries are incredibly interesting. I think to just dig into people's lives is probably one of the more interesting topics out there, but they just don't get the play that, you know, that most things. I mean,
they're making a comeback.
They are.
I feel like with I mean, Netflix, of course,
that's been huge for a documentary industry.
Yeah. Speaking of Netflix, they're doing 4K. Have we talked about that?
I thought we talked about it last time. Maybe not.
Maybe.
But they are.
They're streaming 4K.
Yep.
So some of their shows and some of their movies that were shot 4K, they're starting to stream.
Both of them.
And so I mean, we've got these Sony TVs with the H.265 built in. This is the 4K TVs, and we've got Red just announced they're teaming up with YouTube. They're going more the VP9, which is Google and YouTube. I mean, that's their 4K codec, which they say is more efficient, and they're probably right.
It probably is.
And there's a legal battle right now with H.265 because you have to pay for it.
I hate this kind of stuff, you know, because it ends up splitting the industry, and I don't know.
Well, you know, you start. It's like the whole, like Tesla. I don't know if Tesla's cars, but they've released their patents.
Yeah.
Saying if you can come up with a better car using our ideas,
go for it. Yeah.
Go for it. That's what we want to take. So I love that. Yeah. I love that model, and I wish that. Yeah, I wish that our industry would do that a little bit more.
All right, I have something else on my list here.
Okay.
Clicked on it yesterday. Looked at the footage comparing the new Nikon 810 to the Mark III.
Okay.
And I looked at the footage of those two side by side all the way through. These are preliminary results, and thought here was my sense of it, and that is this is out of the box at your standard settings. There's nothing pushed or pulled or played with. There's no color grading or anything. That Nikon is more detail. There's no doubt about it. But then that's always been somewhat of the complaint with the Mark III. It's not as much detail. So Nikon, more detail. It was a little more flat looking, much more flat looking.
Which some people want.
If you're going to go back and color grade it, it's not such a bad thing. And it wasn't as orange. It was a little more... Mark IIIs are a little more orange. This was a lot less orange.
It's more neutral?
More neutral, much more neutral. But the detail was absolutely there. There's no doubt about it. So that'll be interesting to see how that develops. I'm not sure what the release date is for that camera.
I don't know. It's so funny to me. Nikon just kind of seems like the estranged sister.
I know.
You know, it's just like it was such a competing.
Oh, it
company.
was the industry.
And now I just feel like, I don't know. All of our Nikon listeners are probably angry, but
sorry,
it's just not my vocabulary anymore.
Well, the reason being is that it's as simple as this for me. Canon has the financial power, the financial foothold in the industry that they almost made their glass the universal choice in a lot of industries. Now, is there better glass? Absolutely. I mean, Zeiss glass is better. Leica's, yeah, all that stuff is better. But you see so many cameras these days making it so that they have a Canon, you know, they can use the Canon lenses on their cameras. And the minute Sony comes out with their camera, the first thing the guy said to me at the booth was, well, you can get an adapter to put your Canon lenses on this.
Right.
You know, I mean, so that everyone's worried about it. I mean, people are investing that. So that's the path, you know, and it's going to be always hard for Nikon to keep up with that. Not that they don't make a great product, because they really do. They make a great product.
I think I've underestimated too Sony. I think.
Me too.
I think I underestimated them because now I mean, I just told you I was literally about to post my Mark III on Craigslist and buy an A7S. I was just about to do it.
That's amazing.
And I'll get that adapter, but I thought I just want to buy like a Zeiss 35 2.0 lens that just I throw it on my full frame. That's a Sony mount.
Yeah.
And I just throw it on, and that is it. I use this for my vacationing because it's small, and I use this as my C camera or whatever for weddings, and that's it. It doesn't ever change.
Yeah.
But
it's the old Leica. It's the old Leica street photography.
Yes.
Is what it is. It's that kind of mode. You know, you got your lens, you got to get in close, you got to make it intimate, and yeah, it's the old Leica method of doing street photography, which is pretty cool.
So I underestimated it too. Actually, they announced this thing at NAB, and we talked about it, and I thought, oh, I'm a Canon guy, and I am, but I don't know. It's just there is something very appealing to this size now. So
what if we found out that the shutter is the equivalent of the wooden wheel at the turn of the century, and that mirrorless is the future? And you'd find out Canon, a lot of people are going to be kind of, well, they're realizing right now that they're getting left behind a little bit in that market. They've got to catch up, because mirrorless seems like, just because of the small footprint, that's where it's going to start to go.
Agreed. Anything
Anything else interesting going on?
I know, I'm going to think of it as soon as we turn this thing off. Apple, new 4444
4444.
H or X something. It's just more beefy for their Alexa camera, pretty much. The Area Alexa.
Yeah.
And but I have no information about that. I don't know why I brought it up. That was probably dumb.
Something to stay tuned for next time.
Yeah. Any secret words?
Oh, secret words. I don't know. What is our secret word?
I almost feel like we should let the first comment.
The first comment sets the secret word. Come up with something
First comment on the video.
fun and family friendly.
Yes. Set a secret word, and then everybody has to mirror them.
Has to use that.
Find that secret word from the first comment, and then
but their secret word has to come from something we said in the video.
There you go. All right.
Towards the end here.
Okay.
Towards the end. So the secret word has to come from the end, but the first one that posts gets to select it.
Fun.
You know, like red dress, or bananas, or purple underwear, or iguanas, or something interesting or different like that.
Something like that. Because we mentioned all of that stuff.
We did, right here at the end.
Right here at the end, we did. Cool. All right.
All right. Well, it's been great here to be with you. Trends from the Trenches. So if you have any topics you'd like us to talk about, send them to us. We'd love to have that feedback, input. Send us any thoughts that you have about what you're seeing going on in the market, any thoughts about what we've talked about here today. So this has been Trends from the Trenches with Jay P and Lars. Here's our international giveaway, a light blaster and a NeroTrigger. International giveaway till July 31st. Go to theslantedlens.com.